I've wanted to build a propane forge for a while now. I had a coal forge set up in my dad's shop, but it seemed like whenever I wanted to use it, it was covered in crap and you had to clean it out and deal with all the coal. It seemed like I'd only have a couple hours to forge, and most of that time would be spent cleaning up or cooling down, so it just seemed like a propane forge. You just shut it off, turn it back on again. It's smaller, more compact, a lot easier to get up and going, do a few small things, put it away. So I'm going to make a propane forge. This will be loosely based on the Essential Craftsman's design, with the burner coming in the side. Here I have several hard bricks which are more durable, so I'm going to put those on the bottom. I have a few more of these soft ones, and I didn't realize that they aren't quite the same size as the hard ones, so I'll make that 17 inches, maybe 16 3/4. This old bandsaw has been a great addition to the shop. I did have to replace some bearings in here, it kept binding up. I have these leftover pieces of square tubing from a previous project, so I'm going to use these as the end pieces. They're going to stick out a little bit long so that I can weld stuff here if I need to. I don't know if it's really going to be necessary, but I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants on this design, which I do a lot of times when building stuff. And most of the time it comes out just fine. This is not a particularly complicated thing. So I've got a little stand welded up that the burner can sit on. And then I just need to drill a hole in the middle of the brick for the burner. Got a hole saw. It's not going to go all the way through, but I should be able to chip out the middle part. I'm just going to eyeball the middle. Stuff is, these soft bricks are soft, jeez. There we go. So there's the idea. Now I just need a way of attaching these two together. There we go. Nothing quite says homemade like held together with hose clamps. So actually this is ready to try out. I will want some other things to hold on these bricks over here so they don't just fall off. However, I would like to make it so I can go make it taller, because this same basic setup with this burner can be used as a furnace for melting aluminum or a foundry. So I'm going to try to make it so I can rearrange these bricks, stack them up here, get another row higher, and then I should be able to melt aluminum and that sort of stuff with this same burner. I've melted it before just by piling up the bricks in a sort of haphazard fashion. So for added complication, I decided that to make this height adjustable, I'm going to weld on these 4 tubes, and then my vertical, my thing that sits on top, will have rods which go down into there, so I can just raise and lower this so I can stack up more or less bricks. And the more I'm looking at this design, it's not at all what Essential Craftsman did. It's sort of, you could say, inspired by him, because I was inspired to go out and make this, but really it's a completely different design. So when you do farming, one thing you end up with a lot of is broken tedder tines. So I'm going to use those as the pins. I'm going to cut them off. I don't need these big round things up here, but I'm going to weld them on first and then trim them off with the cut-off wheel. I've got both of these pushed over to the far corner. That way they should end up being centered in these holes. So. Figured I'd show the propane burner I have. I got this as a kit from some small little website. If I can find the website again and it's still active, I'll put it in the link in the description. It has basically a couple of fittings here. This one is cut, so it makes a pinch fit, because as you thread it in, it's pipe thread, so it's tapered, so if you slit it, it'll grab onto this pipe here. This one that goes in. That's flexible. And then in the end of this pipe, down in here, for a nozzle, they're using a MIG tip. So you get your nice fond nozzle, it's centered in here, you can get it all adjusted, slide it in and out. It's got a valve here, and there's a regulator down on the tank. When I was running this, I had the regulator turned down pretty low, so it really does get cranking if you crank up the regulator. For my fire brick choices, I wanted soft on where the burner went into, because drilling the hole is going to be a heck of a lot easier. For the bottom, I wanted the hard brick because it's a lot more durable. I have my Propane Forge back at my house, just set up on this 55-gallon drum. It actually seems like a pretty decent setup for this. I mean, maybe not ideal, but for something quick. And then I've started making a pair of tongs. It's one thing I don't have. I could probably borrow some from my brother, but I figured that I'd try to make a pair. So there's the start of my tongs. They're still really hot, so I can't really touch them. The problem you run into making tongs is to have enough meat up here for the pivot and the jaws. You need a pretty thick piece of metal. And if you have a pretty thick piece of metal, it's too chunky for the handle. So it either means a lot of drawing out to make this handle skinny, or the smart way of doing it is to do your tong head, cut it off, and weld on a skinnier piece. But I'm not doing it the easy way, I'm doing it the hard way. Well, if you like this video, I hope you'd consider subscribing to my channel. I don't have very many subscribers right now, so any little bit will be a great help to the channel. So if you really like the channel and want to support me, I have a Patreon account set up. And if you don't want to do that, I hope you'd at least consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks.